Book 7. A Combat and a Rampart. As Hector spoke, he came out through the gateway running, with Alexandrus beside him, both resolved on battle. Like a wind, a sailing wind heaven may grant to oarsmen, desperate for it at the polished oars, when they have rowed their hearts out far at sea, so welcome to the Trojans in their longing these appeared. And each one killed his man. Alexandrus brought down Menesthius from Arne, son of a mace-wielder, Lord Areithous, and wide-eyed Philomedusa. Hector speared Aeonius under his helmet rim and cut his nape so that his legs gave way. Young Glaucus, too, leader of the Lycians, in the rough melee hit Iphinous Dexiades just as he swung aboard his fast war-car. He rammed him in the shoulder, and down he tumbled from his chariot. Seeing these Argive warriors overthrown in the sharp fighting, grey-eyed Athena came in a gust downward from Olympus' peaks to the old town of Troy, and up to meet her from Pergamus, where he surveyed the fight, his heart set on a Trojan victory, Apollo rose. By the great oak they met, and the son of Zeus began, "Down from Olympus to this field again, what passion moves you now? To give Danaans power for a breakthrough? Daughter of Zeus, you waste no pity on the Trojan dead. If you would listen, I know a better plan. Why not arrange an interval in battle, a day's respite? They can fight on tomorrow, until they find the end ordained for Iliad, as that is all you goddesses have at heart, the plundering of this town." The grey-eyed goddess answered him, "So be it, archer of heaven. I too thought of a truce on my way down toward Trojans and Achaeans. Only tell me, how do you plan to make them break off battle?" Apollo said, "By firing the spirit of Hector, breaker of wild horses. Let him defy some champion of Danaans to measure spears with him in mortal combat. When they are challenged, let them pick a man to stand up against Hector in his pride." The grey-eyed one did not dissent from this, and Priam's dear son Helenus, aware of what these gods were pleased to set afoot, moved over to Hector and accosted him. "Hector, gifted as you are with foresight worthy of Zeus himself, will you consent to my new plan? I tell you as your brother, make all the others, Trojans and Achaeans, rest on their arms, and you yourself defy whoever may be the greatest of Achaeans to face you in a duel to the death. Your hour, you know, has not yet come to die. I have it from the gods who live forever." At this, great Hector's heart beat high. Along the battle line he went, forcing the Trojans back with lance held up mid-haft. They halted and sank down in their tracks, while Agamemnon brought to a halt Achaeans in their armor. Now Athena rested with Apollo, god of the silver bow. Both gods transformed to hunting birds, perched on the royal oak of Father Zeus, who bears the shield of storm. Here with delight they viewed the sea of men in close order at rest, with shields and helms and lances ruggedly astir. A west wind rising will cast a rippling roughness over water, a shivering gloom on the clear sea. Just so the seated mass of Trojans and Achaeans rippled along the plain. Hector addressed them. "Hear me, Trojans and Achaeans. Listen to what I am moved to say. The peace we swore to Lord Zeus, throned on high, would not confirm. He has adversity for both in mind until you take high Troy or are defeated, beaten back to your deep-sea-going ships. Knowing the bravest of Achaea's host are here with you, my pride demands that I engage some champion. Let one come forward, the best man of you all, to fight with Hector. And here is what I say. Zeus be my witness. If, with his whetted bronze, he cuts me down, my armor he may take away and carry aboard the long-decked ships. Not so my body. That must be given to my kin, committed to fire by the Trojans and their women. And if I kill this man, if Lord Apollo grants me victory, his helm and shield I shall unstrap and bring to Iliad, to hang before the archer Apollo's shrine. But his dead body I'll restore to your encampment by the well-trimmed ships. Achaeans there may give him funeral and heap a mound for him by Heli's water. One day, a man on shipboard sailing by on the wine-dark sea will point landward and say, 'There is the death mound of an ancient man, a hero who fought Hector and was slain.' Someone will say that someday, and the honor won by me here will never pass away." He finished, and the Achaeans all sat hushed, ashamed not to respond, afraid to do so. until at length Lord Menelaus arose, groaning in disgust, and stormed at them. "O God, you brave noise-makers! Women, not men! Here is disgrace and grovelling shame for us if none of the Danaans fight with Hector. May you all rot away to earth and water, sitting tight, safe in your ignominy. I will myself tie on a breastplate with him. Out of our hands, in the gods' hands above us, ultimate power over victory lies." With this, he began buckling on his gear, and now, O Menelaus, it seemed foregone. Your end of life was near at Hector's hands, as Hector was far stronger. But Achaean officers in a rush laid hold of you, and Agamemnon, lord of the great plains, taking your right hand, said, "You've lost your head, my lord. No need of recklessness like this. Galling as it may be, hold on. Give up this wish for emulation's sake to face a stronger fighter. Everyone else dreads Prince Hector, Priam's son. Even Achilles shivered when for glory he met this man in combat, and he had more driving power than you by far. Go back, then, take your seat with fellow countrymen of your command. The Achaeans will put up another champion, and gluttonous though he may be for carnage with no fear in him, still he'll be relieved if he comes through this deadly fight, no quarter asked or given." Greatly had he recalled his brother's mind to a just sense of duty, and Menelaus complied. His own retainers happily relieved him of his gear. Then Nestor stood up, saying to the Argives, "Oh, what distress for our Achaean land! How Peleus, the old master of horse, would grieve, that noble counsellor of Myrmidons! One day, questioning me in his own hall, he took delight in learning of the Argives' lineage and birth. If he should hear how every man here quails before Hector now, he'd lift his arms to the immortal gods and pray to quit his body, to go down into the house of death. Oh, Father Zeus, Athena, and Apollo, could I be young again as in those days of fighting by the rapids of Celadon, between the mustered men of Pylus and the pikemen of Arcadia, near Pheera's walls and Iardanus riverside. Erithalion was their champion, and he stood out foremost, magnificent, buckled in Lord Areithous' arms. Areithous, the mace-wielder, so called by fighting men and by their sumptuous women, for using neither bow nor spear, he swung an iron mace to break through ranks in battle. Lycurgus had killed him but by guile, and not by force at all, in a byway so narrow that his mace could not avail him. There Lycurgus, lunging first, had run him through with his long spear, and pinned him backward to the ground. He took the arms given to Areithous by Ares, and bore them afterward in grinding war. Then Lycurgus, when he aged, at home, passed them on to his friend Erithalion. Equipped with these he challenged all our best, but all were shaken, full of dread. No one would take the field against him. Well, my pride drove me to take him on with a high heart, though I was then still youngest of us all. I fought him, and Athena gave me glory. Tallest and toughest of enemies, I killed him. That huge man, and far and wide he sprawled. Would God I had my youth again, my strength intact. Lord Hector would be soon engaged, but you that are the best men of Achaea will not go forward cheerfully to meet him." So, chided by the old man, volunteers arose then, 9 in all. First on his feet being Lord Marshal Agamemnon, second Diomedes, powerful son of Tydeus, and joining these, those 2 who were called Ajax, rugged, impetuous men, and joining these Idomeneus, and that lord's right-hand man Meriones, the peer of the battle-god in butchery of war. Along with these Eurypylus, Euaemon's handsome son, Thoas Andromonides, and Odysseus. These were all willing to encounter Hector in single combat. Then again they heard from Nestor of Gerenia, charioteer. By lot now, whirl for the one who comes out first. He is the one to make Achaeans proud, and make himself too proud if he survives this bitter fight, no quarter asked or given. At this each put his mark upon a stone, and dropped it in the helmet of Agamemnon. Meanwhile the troops addressed the gods in prayer with hands held up. You might have heard one say, his eyes on heaven, "Father Zeus, let Ajax's pebble jump, or make it Diomedes, make it the king himself, or rich Mycenae." So they murmured. Then Lord Nestor gave the helm a rolling shake, and made that stone which they desired leap out, Ajax's token. A herald took it round amid the nine, showing the fortunate mark this way and that to all the Achaean champions, but none could recognize it or acknowledge it. Only when he had come at length to him who made the sign and dropped it in the helmet, Ajax the giant, putting out his hand for what the pausing herald placed upon it, knew his mark. A thrill of joy ran through him. Down at his feet he tossed the stone and said, "Oh, friends, the token's mine, and glad I am, as I believe I can put Hector down. Come, everyone, while I prepare to fight. Pray to Lord Zeus, the son of Cronos. Keep it under your breath so Trojans will not hear, or else be open about it. After all, we have no fear of any. No man here will drive me from the field against my will, not by main force, not by a ruse. I hope I was not born and bred on Salamis to be a dunce in battle." At this the soldiers prayed to Zeus. You might have heard one say, his eyes on heaven, "Father Zeus from Ida looking out for us all, greatest, most glorious, let Ajax win the honor of victory. Or if you care for Hector and are inclined to favor him, then let both men be even in staying power and honor." So they prayed, while Ajax made his brazen helmet snug, fitted his shield and sword strap. He stepped out, as formidable as gigantic Ares, wading into the ranks of men, when Zeus drives them to battle in bloodletting fury. Huge as that, the bastion of Achaeans loomed and grinned, his face a cruel mask, his legs moving in great strides. He shook his long spear, doubled by its pointing shadow, and the Argives exulted. Now the Trojans felt a painful trembling in the knees, and even Hector's heart thumped in his chest. But there could be no turning back. He could not slip again into his throng of troops. He was the challenger. Ajax came nearer, carrying like a tower his body shield of 7 ox-hides, sheathed in bronze, a work done for him by the leather master Tychius in Hyle. Tychius made the glittering shield with 7 skins of ox-hide and an 1/8 of plated bronze. Holding this bulk before him, Ajax Telamonius came on toward Hector and stood before him. Now he spoke, threatening him. "Before long, man to man, Hector, you'll realize that we Danaans have our champions too. I mean besides the lion-hearted breaker of men Achilles. He lies now by the beaked sea-going ships in anger at Lord Marshal Agamemnon. But here are those among us who can face you, plenty of us. Fight then, if you will." To this great Hector in his shimmering helmet answered, "Son of the ancient line of Telamon, Ajax, lordly over fighting men. When you try me, you try no callow boy or woman innocent of war. I know, and know well how to fight and how to kill, how to take blows upon the right or left, shifting my guard of tough ox-hide in battle, how to charge in a din of chariots, or hand to hand with sword or pike to use timing and footwork in the dance of war. Seeing the man you are, I would not trick you, but let you have it with a straight shot, if luck is with me." Rifling his spear, he hurled it and hit Ajax's wondrous shield, square on the outer and 8th plate of bronze. The spearhead punched its way through this and through 6 layers, but the 7th ox-hide stopped it. Now, in his turn, great Ajax made his cast and hit the round shield braced on Hector's arm. Piercing the bright shield, the whetted spearhead cut its way into his figured cuirass, ripping his shirt along his flank, but he had twisted and escaped the night of death. Now both men disengaged their spears and fell on one another like man-eating lions or wild boars, no tame household creatures. Hector's lancehead scored the tower shield but failed to pierce it, as the point was bent aside. Then Ajax, plunging forward, rammed his spear into the round shield, and the point went through to nick his furious adversary, making a cut that welled dark blood below his ear. But Hector did not slacken, even so. He drew away, and in one powerful hand picked from the plain a boulder lying there, black, rough, and huge, and threw it, hitting Ajax's gigantic 7-fold shield square on the boss with a great clang of bronze. Then Ajax lifted up a huger stone and whirled, and put immeasurable force behind it when he let it fly, as though he flung a millstone, crushing Hector's shield. The impact caught his knees so that he tumbled backwards behind the bashed-in shield. At once Apollo pulled him to his feet again, and now with drawn swords toe-to-toe they would have doubled strokes on one another, had not those messengers of Zeus and men, the heralds, intervened, one from the Trojans, one from the Achaean side, for both Idaeus and Talthybius kept their heads. They held their staves out, parting the contenders, and that experienced man Idaeus said, "Enough, lads, no more fighting. The Lord Zeus, assembler of bright cloud, cares for you both. Both are great spearmen, and we all know it. But now already night is coming on, and we do well to heed the fall of night." Said Ajax Telamonius in reply, "Idaeus, call on Hector to say as much. He was the one who dared our champions to duel with him. Let him take the lead. Whatever he likes, I'm at his disposition." Hector in his shimmering helmet answered, "Ajax, a powerful great frame you had as a gift from God, and a clear head. Of all Achaeans you are toughest with a spear. And this being shown, let us break off our duel, our bloodletting for today. We'll meet again, another time, and fight until the unseen power decides between these hosts of ours, awarding one or the other victory. But now already night is coming on, and we do well to heed the fall of night. This way you'll give them festive pleasure there beside the ships, above all to your friends, companions at your table. As for me, as I go through Priam's town tonight, my presence will give joy to Trojan men and to our women, as in their trailing gowns they throng the place of God with prayers for me. Let us make one another memorable gifts, and afterward they'll say among Achaeans and Trojans, 'These two fought and gave no quarter in close combat, yet they parted friends.'" This he said, and lifting off his broadsword silver-hilted in its sheath upon the well-cut baldric, made a gift of it. And Ajax gave his loin-guard sewn in purple. Each then turned away. One went to join the Achaean troops, the other joined his Trojans. And all were full of joy to see him come alive, unhurt, delivered from the fury of Ajax, whose great hands no man withstood. Almost despairing of him still, they led him into the town. On their side the Achaeans conducted Ajax in his pride of victory to Agamemnon. In the commander's hut, Lord Marshal Agamemnon sacrificed a 5-year ox to the overlord of heaven. Skinned and quartered and cut up in bits, the meat was carefully spitted, roasted well, and taken from the fire. When all the food lay ready, when the soldiers turned from work, they feasted to their heart's content. And Lord Agamemnon, ruler of the great plains, gave Ajax the long marrowy cuts of chine. Then, hunger and thirst dispelled, they heard Lord Nestor first in discourse. The old man had new proposals to elaborate, he whose counsel had been best before. Concerned for them, he said, "Lord Agamemnon, princes of Achaea, think of our losses. Many are dead, their dark blood poured by Ares around Scamander River, and their souls gone down to undergloom. Therefore, at dawn, you should suspend all action by Achaeans. Gathering here, we'll bring the dead men back in wagons drawn by oxen or by mules. These corpses we must fire abaft the ships a short way from the sterns, that each may bear his charred bones to the children of the dead whenever we sail home again. We'll bring earth for a single mound about the fire, common earth from landward. Based on this, a line of ramparts to defend our ships and troops, with gates well fitted in the walls to leave a way out for our chariots. Outside, beyond the walls, we'll dig a moat around the perimeter to hold at bay their teams and men, and break the impetus of Trojans in assault." To this proposal all the great captains gave assent. And now at that same hour, high in the upper city of Ilion, a Trojan assembly met, in tumult at the gates of Priam. First to speak before them all, clear-eyed Antenor cried out, "Trojans, Dardans and allies, listen to me, to what I am moved to say. Bring Argive Helen and the treasure with her, and let us give her back to the Atreidae, to take home in the ships. We fight as men proven untrustworthy, truce-breakers. I see no outcome favorable to ourselves unless we act as I propose." With this short speech he took his seat. But Prince Alexandrus, husband of the fair-haired beauty Helen, rose and in a sharp tone answered him, "What you propose, Antenor, I do not like. You can conceive of better things to say, or if you take it seriously, this plan, the gods themselves have made you lose your wits. To all you Trojan handlers of fast horses, here is my speech. I say no to your face. I will not give the woman up. The treasure, all that I once brought home from Argos, though, I offer willingly, and with increment." After this declaration he took his seat. Then Priam, son of Dardanus, arose, sage as a god in council, and spoke out in his concern amid them all. "Now hear me, Trojans, Dardans, and allies. Listen to what I feel I must propose. At this hour, take your evening meal as always everywhere in the city. Bear in mind that sentries must be posted, every man alert. Then let Idaeus go at dawn among the decked ships bearing the Atreidae, Agamemnon and Menelaus. Report of what was said here by Alexandrus, because of whom this quarrel began. Then, too, let him make inquiry to this effect. Will they accept a truce in the hard fighting, allowing us to burn our dead? Next day again we'll fight, until inscrutable power decides between us, giving one side victory. They listened and abided by his words. In companies the soldiers took their meal, and then at dawn Idaeus made his way amid the decked ships. Finding the Danaans, companions of Ares, gathered in assembly before the bow of Agamemnon's ship, he took his stand among them, calling out, "Agamemnon, and all princes of Achaea! Priam and the noblemen of Troy direct me to report, and may it please you, the offer of Alexandrus, because of whom this quarrel began. The treasure, all that he brought to Troy in his long ships, would God he had foundered on the way, he now desires to give back with increment. Menelaus' wife, on the other hand, he has affirmed that he will not restore. Let Trojans urge it as they will. I am directed further to make this inquiry. Will you accept a truce in the hard fighting, allowing us to burn our dead? Next day, again, we'll fight until inscrutable power decides between us, giving one side victory." He finished, and they all sat hushed and still. At last, Diomedes of the great war cry burst out, "Let no man here accept treasure from Alexandrus, nor Helen either. Even a child can see the Trojans live already on the edge of doom." The Achaean soldiers all roared aye to this, aroused by Diomedes' words, and Lord Agamemnon responded to Idaeus, "Idaeus, there, by heaven, you yourself have heard the Achaeans' answer. For my part, I am content with it. As to the dead, I would withhold no decency of burning. A man should spare no pains to see cadavers given as soon as may be after death to purifying flame. Let thundering Zeus, consort of Hera, witness I give my word." And as he spoke, he gestured with his staff upward toward all the gods. Turning around, Idaeus made his way again to Ilion. Upon the assembly ground, Trojans and Dardans were waiting all together for him to come. Soon he arrived, and standing in their midst, delivered his report. Then all equipped themselves at once, dividing into two working parties, one for timber, one to bring in the dead, as on the other side, leaving their ships, the Argives labored, gathering firewood and bringing in the dead. Bright Helios had just begun to strike across the ploughlands, rising heavenward out of the deep, smooth-flowing ocean stream, when these two groups met on the battlefield, with difficulty distinguishing the dead men one by one. With pails they washed the bloody filth away. Then hot tears fell, as into waiting carts they lifted up their dead. All cries of mourning Priam forbade them. Sick at heart, therefore, in silence, they piled corpses on the pyre and burned it down. Then back they went to Ilion. Just so on their side the Achaeans piled dead bodies on their pyre, sick at heart, and burned it down. Then back to the ships they went. Next day before dawn, in the dim of night, around the pyre, chosen Achaean men assembled to make one mound for all, with common earth brought in from landward. Based on this they built a wall, a rampart with high towers to be protection for their ships and men, and well-framed gateways in the wall they made, to leave a way out for the chariots. Outside, beyond the wall, they dug a moat and planted it with stakes driven in and pointed. These were the labours of the long-haired carles of Achaea. And the gods arrayed with Zeus, lord of the lightning flash, looked down on this great work of the Achaean army. Then he who shakes the mainland and the islands, Poseidon, made his comment. "Father Zeus, will any man on boundless earth again make known his thought, his plan to the immortals? Do you not see? The long-haired carles of Achaea put up a rampart inshore from the ships and ran a moat around, but they would not propitiate us with glory of hecatombs. The fame of this will be diffused as far as dawn sends light. Men will forget the wall I drudged at with Apollo for Laomedon." Hot with irritation, Zeus replied, "By thunder, lord of the wide seas, power, shaking islands and mainland, sulking, you? Another god, 100 times feebler than you are in force of hand and spirit, might be worried over this stratagem, this wall. Your own renown is widespread as the light of dawn. Come, look ahead. When the Achaeans take again to their ships and sail for their own land, break up the wall and wash it out to sea, envelop the whole shore with sand. That way the Achaean wall may vanish from the earth." So ran their colloquy. The sun went down, and now the Achaean labour was accomplished. Amid their huts they slaughtered beasts and made their evening meal. Wine ships had come ashore from Lemnos, a whole fleet loaded with wine. These ships were sent by Euneus, Jason's son, born to that hero by Hypsipyle. To Agamemnon as to Menelaus he gave 1,000 measures of the wine for trading, so the troops could barter for it, some with bronze and some with shining iron, others with hides and others still with oxen, some with slaves. They made a copious feast, and all night long Achaeans with flowing hair feasted, while the Trojans and their allies likewise made a feast. But all night long Zeus the Profound made thunder overhead, while pondering calamities to come, and men turned pale with fear. Tilting their cups, they poured out wine upon the ground. No man would drink again till he had spilt his cup to heaven's overlord. But at long last they turned to rest, and took the gift of sleep.